Keeper here. So if you saw my Minotaur video from yesterday, then I thought, oh, I'll put up another one where, yeah, things don't go my way. But first, just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, obviously. And once we have that out of the way, let's get on with the battle here. So I am in, like I said, Alaska in this battle here, a cruiser that I've started to play more now since I have got my hands on a certain commander. And I'll show you in a minute which one I'm using, but I'm sure you've guessed already. It's the same one I use on Des Moines, and it is obviously a Sure Lane Montpelier. And I've upgraded her completely, along with Vian completely. So together they give me 14% worse dispersion for whoever shoots at me. And since you are spending so much time bow on in American cruisers, I thought that this probably is a good commander to use. And yeah, I think so. So far, I've had pretty good results with her. I prefer her over a Sure Lane Baltimore, that's for sure. And I mean, once you spec into stuff like incoming dispersion that the enemy players have pretty much no control over. They can they can create their own dispersion builds, but with this build here, I'm pretty much negating that. And if I just present a very small target, then I think this commander here actually works pretty well. And I know in the beginning I was pretty tough on her because she needs to be high level. You also need Vian high level to make sense, because if you just have like 3 or 4% worse incoming dispersion, it's not going to do anything. You need that at least 10% and probably the 14% that I have. And even then, I wish there was another inspiration that would buff it even more. So hopefully we'll get that in the future, and then I think this will be the build to use on American cruisers. It's very good already, and it's my preferred commander. But I'm sure some other people still go with like the more traditional commanders and some of the non-premiums as well. I know a lot of people still use Scott, and there's nothing wrong with that. Scott is a very good commander if you are into, like offensive builds or whatever we call them. The alien lady, I forget her name right now, Beepley, she's also a very good one. She is obviously a premium commander, so you'll have to pony up a few doubloons to get her. It's of course the same with Montpelier here. I mean, she costs doubloons as well, or she did cost. She's not available anymore. And I haven't seen anyone else really dabble in this commander. I have heard of a few, better players who have actually switched to this commander. And I can understand that. I think she actually works really well, to be honest, if you have her high level and if you have Vian high level. It's still an offensive build. You still get great reload. You give up a little bit of range, but not too bad, really. Especially when you have her on a ship like Alaska or Des Moines in the first place, it doesn't really matter that much. And if you want to, you can switch the last inspiration. I think I have the Italian guy there for reload. Of course, you can switch that for more range if you really want to. So it's a very, very flexible build here. And like I said, it doesn't really matter how good a player you are, facing in this build here, because they have no influence over RNG. They cannot tell exactly where their shells will land, and it gives you quite an edge, really, in all honesty. And that's probably why I have decided to go with this commander here, because if you watch the CC stream, they hate when they get bad dispersion, and with this build here, that's exactly what you're giving them. So I'm sure for the enemies it's an infuriating build, but I mean, if you're the one sailing around with 14% worse dispersion for your enemies, then yeah, you're just gonna be laughing. Of course, put the concealment module on your ship. Don't run double rudder with this build here, because the concealment module will give you another 10% worse incoming dispersion. And so add all those things up, and that makes it 24% worse incoming dispersion than a stock ship. And well, that is something that yeah, really really makes a difference, trust me. Now the commander works very, very nicely on Alaska, but really she works perfectly on Des Moines, because Des Moines is even skinnier than Alaska, and is even harder to hit, especially if you're bow on. And another positive there is that Des Moines has less armor than Alaska, so every shell that misses your armor in Des Moines is a huge win for you, and that's less of the case in Alaska because it's just much better armored. But in the end, the result is the same. People shoot at you, and they miss a lot more than they would otherwise. So I like to do these min-max builds here, and as I said, this is a maximum incoming dispersion build, and I haven't seen anyone else run this build, at least not fully maxed like I am. And I mean, that's what I enjoy to do, and that's one of the pluses of this channel here, that if you want to go all out on a build, there's the high probability of me having a video where I do that. And that could be like, I do like rudder builds, sure, yeah, I mean, I've been doing that for a while and they're all maxed. I also do ghost builds, where you go dark faster after shooting your guns, and I do believe I have that one maxed out as well, so you go dark after, I don't know, 12 seconds or something like that. Also very, very, very useful, especially in the Russian cruisers. And then of course, builds like this one here, that's, like a little bit quirky, but still very, very good. And then there's the more traditional full reload builds and full AP builds and full penetration builds, but I don't really dabble in those, and of course full HE builds as well, but I don't really dabble in those because honestly every other channel is running those builds, so there's really no point in having another channel with exactly the same builds as everybody else. So that's pretty much my niche here, I think, and that's what I like. And that's also why I go all in on getting so many commander, progression items as I possibly can, because that's pretty much what keeps this game alive for me, is new interesting builds and new like funny ways to surprise the enemy. And I think it's worth it. I think it's it's expensive, but I mean, I buy all these things, I try all these builds here, so you guys don't have to do it if you don't want to, of course. And sure, if you like the traditional reload or AP builds, you go with that. But I mean, I like to try something new once in a while, and this build here is actually very successful, I think. So of course that begs the question, should you spend your hard-earned dollars on buying doubloons and then buying insignias and grinding commander XP and upgrading commanders so you can get the universal commendations and all that stuff, if you already have an American cruiser commander at a high level, say 12-2 or something like that? No, of course not. Of course not. If you're happy with the commander you already have, then there's really no point trying out other builds. I mean, and let's be honest here, the difference in builds really is marginal at best. I mean, the best thing you can do to improve your gameplay is to position better and be more patient, really. Those are the main skills you need in this game here. And the commander is more an afterthought, really. And it's really only if you go to extremes, like for example the full rudder build opposed to a full concealment build, that you will start to get some sort of difference in the day-to-day gameplay. But if you do like a little bit of this, a little bit of that builds, then there is absolutely no point doing it, honestly. You'll have to min-max to really feel, especially like incoming dispersion here, and like also ghost builds, they don't really work unless you go all in. And rudder builds, same thing, you can get away with not going all the way in on a rudder build, but that last second you can shave off, it really makes the whole difference. Reload builds are a different case, because like cutting 6% off, for example, Des Moines reload, I don't know, that's not really worth it. I think it's better used on a ship like Alaska, where 6% is about a second. while on Des Moines it's like 0.3 of a second or something that you will never notice, and you're using a whole inspiration to do it. But then again, on rudder builds, it's also, you know, you get a 6% better rudder, but on a rudder build it actually makes a lot of sense because it's 6% off the base value. So if you have a 3-second rudder and you put Azure Lane Baltimore on as an inspiration, you will get down to around 2.2 rudder. So a 0.8 second shaved off. So that's about 25% in real terms, not 6%. Because no one would put it on if it was just 6% on the rudder. You would never notice that. But 25% off your rudder time, that's massive, that's huge. And that's why min-maxing is so important if you want to get, you know, the full benefit of these more, you know, exotic builds here. But like I said before, if you already have, say you already have Scott at level 12, legendary 2 or something like that, just stick with him. Unless you are, you know, super into exotic builds and you see this incoming dispersion build here and you think, oh, I gotta have it. And I assume not many players will actually think that. But it is fun, and I mean, there's something for everyone in this game here. And, you know, like I said, for me, these new, funny, interesting builds here is what keeps the game alive. And, I kind of enjoy testing them out and, you know, pumping lots of resources into this stuff here and then see, does it actually work? And yeah, some of them work and some of them are quite, you know, disappointing. Like, for example, a battleship secondary build. Not really much point in that if you ask me. And also anti-aircraft builds. Not so much because there's something wrong with the anti-aircraft builds, but more of the fact that you are never really guaranteed a carrier game unless you division up with a carrier. So some builds are exceptionally good, and some builds are just pretty much a waste of money. Then there's of course stuff like anti-fire builds, and if you watch Hivehound's channel, he made a very good video on the actual, look at that incoming shell dispersion there, I didn't get hit at all. Anyway, if you watch Hivehound's channel, he did a very good video a few weeks ago on what an anti-fire build actually means. And I mean, I've done the anti-fire builds and I don't really see any improvement at all. Because I mean, also fire chance is kind of, you know, random no matter how you look at it. And if you want to know more details, look at the Hivehound's video. It's really good in you know, looking into the actual underlying numbers, because it's not as simple as most people think. If you put on like an inspiration that gives you 5% less chance of having a fire set on you, then it actually doesn't mean that you have 5% less chance. It's a lot more complicated than that. So anyway, that was a bit of a sidetrack there. And another reason I don't go for, you know, like dispersion or penetration builds, I just think there's too much like random numbers involved in that. And I'll show you exactly what I mean here at the end of this battle here, because like, in my opinion, I should have been able to take out these two guys here. And so anyway, I will show you exactly what I mean. Now, I should have waited a little bit longer for the IOA turn, but I thought, oh, I'll be able to whack him here. But you get like 3 shatters. Like, sure, maybe, not sure that I actually think I would get shatters there, but let me pick on the Azuma instead. And we get a Citadel on him, and then we just shoot again to remove him from the game. But this final salvo here is what is the whole reason I don't spec into stuff that's random. Because I'm pretty sure that should have been a Citadel, and that should definitely have been a Citadel. Because if you go and look at the Iowa armor scheme, I mean, that shot is right in the Citadel, and I get an overbid. So that's why I don't spec into stuff that's based on random things. So anyway, that was in Alaska with the Azure Lane Montpelier anti-dispersion build, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you out there.